Hello everyone, my name is John Wheeler, and I am a Reiki practitioner, teacher, and owner of Reflective Healings. And today I wanted to make a video. I've never done one of these before, and I felt moved to do so here I am. And the biggest thing I'm going to try to do with this video is be authentic in what I have to say and be it the truth, regardless of what others might think or what negative complaints I may get for my views on this. I do consider myself a very spiritual person, and so I had a very wide-range thought today, with it being the day before Easter. And I've never really given any thought to Passover or the rising of Jesus, and I actually started thinking about that today, and it kind of hit me that I could understand the true teachings of the life of Jesus and why it is important, regardless of your religious belief system, to really look at what is there and what is to be offered in those stories. And I think the biggest thing is the idea of miracles or power. I think everyone could agree that it's really, really amazing to think about the fact that Jesus was able to transcend our physical world and actually rise from the dead. And with that, I really have the deep thought of us being spiritual beings having a physical experience in this life. We are not human beings having a spiritual experience, but spiritual beings having a human experience. And I think that that is an idea that we have lost over time throughout our race, is that we are unlimited spiritual beings. And when you look at the life of Jesus and you look at his miracles, it really is amazing to see that a man was able to make a blind man see, make a lame person walk, and to make the deaf to be able to hear and to speak. And then it starts to raise the question of how did he perform these miracles? And this is where I know there's some skepticism and there's some criticism that's going to take place, and that is fine. These are just the way that I've thought about it, and to me it makes sense, is to think about the fact that Jesus was a human being, and he was a prophet. He was sent here to bring us a message about what we should be doing and how to live our lives to our best ability in order to transcend our physical world and to move forward as our spiritual being. And I think the biggest thing that we can say for sure is that he was human and that he did exist. No one can argue that he did not exist. The only argument comes from who was he and why was he here. And I think that Jesus' life and the lesson there that's hidden is not about him sacrificing his life for our sins, for us to be forgiven when it comes to being judged by God, a creator, whatever label you may use there. But I think it's a true lesson in what it means to be human and what our unlimited power is as a human being. I think a lot of people have this idea that we are more or less the workers. So a lot of people like to just throw their hands up in the air and say they have no power in their life, and that they're just going to go with the flow and ride life out, and that everything will be provided as is necessary. And I completely, totally agree with that. But I don't think that we are completely limited in our ability to affect our lives. I think we have more control than we give ourselves credit. And I think that society as a whole has made us forget that we do have strength and we do have those abilities. And it can be seen in any major revolution or civil movement that we've had throughout the history of the human race. And I think the strongest lesson there is that our limits are only met by our own minds. And I know a lot of people talk about it, a lot of people speak about it, and they talk about the idea of limiting belief systems, or that we limit ourselves to the mundane world. We limit ourselves to what we can and can't do and what we have power over. And I completely agree with that. Jesus was a man who was brought here. He was awake. He was aware. and he knew what his abilities were, he knew what power he had, and he knew what needed to be done in order to maintain that balance in this world. And I think that's really fascinating. Even if you don't agree with the Christian faith, or you don't practice the Christian faith, I think we can all agree that Jesus was here to give us the message of what it means to be human. He gave us the commandments. He gave us the principles of really brotherly love, how to love your neighbor rather than judge your neighbor or hate your neighbor, not to kill and to forgive, and to be aware of what's going on and to ask for help when you need help. Pray when you feel the need to pray. Ask your angels to guide you when you're lost, rather than limiting yourself and really thinking that the only thing that you're capable of doing is being here. A lot of times I hear people talk about unsuccessful business, broken relationships, and with all of that, all I can say is to really think about what you're believing. Do you let the thoughts that other people have about you affect you, in the sense of maybe your boyfriend or a girlfriend told you that you're too needy, and so then you start to pull away more? Or maybe you're trying to run a business and all of your partners tell you that you're never going to make it, you'll never be successful. And then eventually you start to believe those things. And I think society has done really well with putting those beliefs in people's minds. Take, for example, the trouble kid in elementary school who maybe had ADHD or didn't get a lot of love at home, or maybe he got plenty of love at home, but he just liked to act out because he liked the attention. And then we start to label those kids as the trouble kids, and then they go to junior high, they go to high school, and then when they get to high school, they're still the trouble kids. We have our expectations for them, and eventually that child learns to believe the same thoughts. That child now feels that they have ADHD, or that they're never going to amount to anything more than potentially working as a mechanic when they could be doing engineering. And it's really fascinating to think about that and how that relates to the life of Jesus. Jesus was constantly being condemned by the people around him, so much so that it ultimately led to his death. But rather than fall under that, he transcended them. He allowed them to treat him that way, and rather than spite them or hate them, he just asked for their forgiveness. And then what's really amazing is that he was then able to come back to us in a spiritual form and teach us and get us back on the right track. And I think we've kind of lost that throughout the history of mankind. And for the sake of babbling, I'm going to wrap it up. And I just want to say to you, thanks for watching this. I really hope that you enjoy it. I'm hoping to do more videos like this and share my thoughts about some spiritual practices or successes. I've loved to hear some stories, some feedback, and live in peace.